I have a question. Anybody here kind of ready for some good news? We all know we've had enough of things we'd just rather not hear about, right? Today's Gaudete Sunday, a time to remind yourself of what good news really is. I wonder if we realize that good news is not really new. It's not really complicated. It's not exclusive. Our loving God is saying, I know every thought, word, and deed that you've ever experienced since you were born. And I've only one thing to tell you over and over, the same thing. I know you in and out. And I still love you. And he asked, why? Well, because it's God's godly nature to love unconditionally and not judgmentally. That one word, still, I still love you, can mean only one thing. God is choosing love and not judgment. This is what Pope Francis said. Quotation. How much wrong we do to God and God's grace when we speak of sins being punished by God's judgment, before we speak of their being forgiven by God's mercy. We have to put mercy before judgment. End of quotation. My translation, all respect due Pope Francis, for the word mercy is unconditional love. I've been waiting over 80 years to hear a pope say this. Now, there are a few things I'd like to sit down and have a cup of coffee with Pope Francis. One of them, we need to renew or review the whole teaching about women being ministers, sacrament ministers in our church. Huh? But there are some stances that Pope Francis has taken that I think we need to pay attention to. I have three. One, as I just said, God loves us unconditionally. Okay. The second is preferential option for the poor. The third, the hierarchy and all clergy have a vocation to be humble pastors who smell like the sheep and operate field hospitals for the wounded. And regarding those who cry out for violence and revenge, he said, together we must say no to hatred, to revenge, and to violence, particularly that violence which is perpetuated in the name of a religion or of God. I believe many have forgotten this need for doing away with revenge. Today's first reading from the prophet Zephaniah gives the reason why we call this Gaudete Sunday, Rejoice Sunday. He writes, quotation, shout for joy, O daughter of Zion. Sing joyfully, Israel. Be glad and exult with all your heart. And then Zephaniah goes on to give the reason why we are invited into joy. Quotation, God has removed the judgment against you and has turned away your enemies. You have no further misfortune to fear. Quotation close of Zephaniah. Now, to remove judgment is another way of inviting all of us to remove all prejudicial and racist behavior, not even to give it a second thought. It doesn't fit in the heart of a Christian. To live in the spirit of joy, we must live in a spirit of hope. These days, hope is really not an option. It's a necessity. We all know this deep down. And so Sister Ilia Delio, Franciscan theologian, writes the following: we must suffer through to something higher, something more unified, more conscious, more being in love. Hope must be born repeatedly. For where there is love, there is hope. Christian life is birthing love into greater unity. Wow. It's our contribution to a universe in evolution. We point the way to something more than ourselves, something up ahead that we are now participating in. It's not ours, we're just participating in it, where heaven and earth will be, fasten your seatbelts, be renewed. Heaven and earth will be renewed. That's hope. That's based on Revelation 21. I treasure the words of Francis about this hope. He says, to hope is to savor the wonder of being loved. I love that. To savor. You ever get a wonderful piece of chocolate candy, and your mouth is watering, and you start eating it, but then you get distracted, and all of a sudden, wow, it's gone. That wonderful savor, I didn't pay attention to it. When you eat something as wonderful as chocolate, take your time, go slowly. This is God saying to you in this specific instance, this is only one way, but it is a real way that I love you. Savor it. And so just how can we join in all those who are shouting for joy on this Gaudete Sunday in this renewal of heaven and earth? By our own removal of all judgment of others, all judgment of ourselves, all judgment even of God, all sayings that shouldn't be this way, To the extent that we stop judging and become people of great non-judgmental love, to that extent we will be joyful, full of joy. Joy to the world, great song. But it becomes more than just a song when we experience it in a deep way, when we savor being loved without measure. At that point, it will be good news to live by, to savor each heartbeat, each eye blink of our lives.